Hello out there. Welcome to the Week 14 edition of the MCC News. I am your host, five-time MCC champion, Alan Morrow. Now let's get to it. First topic. 4 in, 4 out, 4 fighting. Very simple. We got 4 teams in and qualified for the playoffs, 4 teams eliminated from the playoffs, and 4 teams still fighting for those last 2 playoff spots. Now the 4 in. Lee and Will. Bye weeks. Congratulations. Tyra and James are both in as well, and they've secured the 3 and 4 seeds for the most part. James would have to lose and get outscored by like 100 points to be able to lose that 4 seed. Currently out of the playoffs, Binky, Jeremy have been out of it. Doug and myself both eliminated after this past week. So better luck next season to all of us 4. We'll have more on that probably in the future and future MCC news. Now the 4 teams fighting for the playoff spots. Currently the 2 teams that hold the 5th and 6th spots, Schrader and Ben Tees. And then there's Gabe and Jim is making a Cinderella story comeback here. Very simple. Playoff percentages odds. We got Schrader that has about a 75% or about a 99% chance of making the playoffs, but he has about a 26% chance of finishing as the 4 seed. The 5th seed, he has about a 15% chance, and the 6th seed, he has about a 60% chance of hitting that 6th seed. Ben Tees, essentially, he has a 60% chance of hitting that 5th seed, and that's it. Basically, if he makes the playoffs, he's probably going to be the 5th seed. If not, if he loses this week, he's going to be out. Jim surprisingly has a 30% chance of sneaking into that 6th seed from going 0-8. 5-game win streak, now a 30% chance in the last week of the season to hit the last playoff spot. It's been pretty impressive there. Gabe only has about 11% chance of making the playoffs. This is all based on the team's histories of scores this year. It doesn't take any projections in bye weeks or anything into account. So this is just about 10,000 simulated runs, and this is kind of where we're at. So Gabe does have a little bit of workout for himself this week against Jim. Some scenarios here is pretty simple. Schrader, just win. Win and you're in. If he does lose, he does need Gabe to lose or Gabe win, but he doesn't get outscored by 36 points from Gabe because Gabe is down 36 points in the points for total on the season of Schrader. For Ben Tees, once again, just win and he's in. If he does lose, just don't get outscored by 40 by Jim if Jim wins as well. And he'll also need a Gabe loss. Gabe, win. You need to win. Ben Tees needs to lose for you to go in, so you don't hold your own destiny, sadly. If you do lose, you do need Schrader to lose and outscore him by 36 or more points. Jim, you need to win. Schrader needs to lose. That's simple. So it's going to be very exciting this last week of the season. How can we not root for the Cinderella story of Jim sneaking into the playoffs here? It'll be a great story. Will be talked about forever in the MCC circles here to come. We'll have a few more talking points on, because spoiler alert, matchups of the week are the 2 playoff elimination matchups. But with that, let's go to the next topic. Now, there's been a lot of talk in this league but what if I had your schedule? Man, if I had somebody else's schedule, I would be in the playoffs right now. I wouldn't just have 3 wins on the season. Oh man, if I had someone else's schedule, I would be in the playoffs. Oh man, if he had someone else's schedule, he wouldn't be 12-1. He would be maybe out of the playoffs. Oh man. So we did some digging here. We did all that. So some fun facts here. So no matter whose schedule you had, this is what your record would be against if you had everybody else's schedule. Now, Will, Tyra, and Lee are the only 3 teams that would have a winning record regardless of anybody's schedule. For instance, Lee at 12-1, he would still be 12-1 if he had Schrader's schedule. But everywhere else, he would have 8 or more wins. Same thing with Tyra. Tyler would have 11-2 with Lee's schedule, and not just 8-5 on his own. Now, Gabe and Binky and Doug are the only 3 teams that would not have a winning record regardless of what schedule they would have. And just kind of round it out, James, you would have 8 winning records. Jim, you would have 8 different winning records. Schrader, you would have 4 scenarios of winning records. I would have 3. Jeremy, you would have 5. And Bentise would have 6. Now, overall, taking all the projected win accounts of all 12 schedules that somebody could have had, Lee and Ty would be tied. They would average about 9.75 wins, no matter with the overall schedule there. Will would have 8.4, Jim 7.2 wins, James 6.8, Bentise would have 6.3, I average 6 wins, Jeremy averages 5.9, Schrader averages 5.75, Gabe averages 5.25, Doug averages 4.7, and Binky ends it with an average of 3.6 wins across all schedules. Now, Lee's schedule, if everyone had Lee's schedule on this season, 9 of us would have a winning record and probably be in the playoffs. The only ones that win it would, surprise, surprise, Binky, Gabe, and Doug. The next one would be Schrader's schedule. 8 of us would have winning records. Doug, Gabe, Binky, and Jeremy would not have winning records. Jeremy would be at 6-7. He would just miss it. Fun fact, nobody would be undefeated. 12-1 is the best mark. Lee currently, and Lee also with Schrader's record at that 12-1 spot. So I'll be more into it. I'll probably maybe bring this to the end of the year party and everybody can wish on somebody else's schedule. It'll be some good fun entertainment. With that, so let's go with our matchup of the week. As said, it is, because it's position week, it is Schrader versus Bentise and Gabe versus Jim. Basically, winners make the playoffs. For instance, right now, Schrader and Bentise. Schrader is losing Sam Howell, which is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in fantasy football, so it could be a big loss for him right now. Currently, Bentise is projected to win by 8+ points, but Schrader has been a team that kind of overperforms every week anyways. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup there. Gabe and Jim. Now, Jim does have Brian Robinson on bye, and he lost Tank Dell last week with fractured fibula. So that's a big loss for him. But no matter what, Jim is currently projected by 17+ points. Gabe is another one has typically overperformed in a lot of weeks. So you never know. It's not, never know what's going to happen from here. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very fun last week of the season. Going to be a lot of trash talk. Let's hope for the best. Rooting here for Schrader. Bentise, don't want to root for the new guy and even root for the guy exiting. And then also, at this point, let's root for Jim. Jim's made the unbelievable comeback. He's stayed strong. He's stayed forward with his lineup. He's taken a couple bumps here, but he keeps on going. And for our last one, Tyler's Fab Thoughts. It's silly spending season. We're at the end of it. People have Fab left. People are just spending Fab, even when it doesn't make sense. For instance, the 3 highest waiver pickups this week, 2 of them yesterday, 1 of them this morning, all on defenses. Bentise picked up the Texans and the Packers defense for $16 a piece. He spent $32 on both of those combined. Lee spent $27 on the Browns defense this morning. Fun fact, none of them had any other money bid on any of those. So it was a lot of just spending. People do have it. Obviously, Bentise and Lee are expecting no surprise injury that will make someone very valuable for the last 3 weeks of the playoffs here. And with that, Jim spent $19 on Latavius Murray. Now, for our regular viewers out there, you might be going, I feel like almost every week someone's picking up Latavius Murray. Well, out of the last three out of the last 4 weeks, someone has picked up Latavius Murray. 4 weeks ago, Jeremy picked up Latavius Murray for $14. Then Schrader, 2 weeks later, picked him up for $5. And then Jim has now picked him up for $19. So he just took Jeremy and Schrader's bid and just combined them for his own bid. For a player that has max points of 13 points, which is like in week 2, hasn't scored double digits more than twice, is in a backfield as the backup running back of a team that doesn't run the ball very much. It's a very weird player that keeps on getting picked up, not played, and typically immediately dropped. So we'll see how that goes. And the fun fact on this one too, out of all three of those recent bids for Latavius Murray, only one of them had, and when Jeremy picked him up, there was another bid on him for $0. So all three people picked up Latavius Murray, basically didn't have to outbid anybody, and no one else spent any money on him. So it's just kind of flushing away fab money there. But hey, it's not real money. Who cares? With that brings us to the end of the MCC news. Good luck to everybody that still is in contention here. As always, let's go Lions. Fuck the Bears.